Hi, I am Paul Warlowski from Simple Training and Simple Endurance Coaching, and we're going to do a basic body weight strength program for runners and cyclists today that focuses on the kind of strength that you can build during the season that still gives you strength but doesn't wipe you out, to work on your primary focus in your primary sport. The work is going to be a lot of isometric. It's going to be a lot of building tension. So the first one that we'll do, and when we do these, we're looking basically to build fatigue in our muscles. And this is one that will build fairly quickly. And you'll feel this, your primary building spot is in your glutes. And I'll talk about that as we get going. But the first one we'll do is essentially a Warrior 3 yoga pose, where you have your down knee fairly bent, and you are going to tilt over and come into a warrior pose. Now, I'll come into some modifications in a minute, but the key is to have the weight more on your heels so that you're feeling it in your glute, and that's where the tension is building in. Now, one of the things you can do is hang on to something. As long as you are pushing back and that the weight, the tension is focusing in your glutes. So notice how my knee is sort of bent, and I'm just going to go until I'm starting to feel the fatigue, or the tension building. The more you can do this without balance, the more, or without aid, the more that you are able to strengthen the stabilizer muscles in your ankles and calves as well. If even that is too much, then use your toe here as a kickstand and do the same thing. All right, when you're done, switch to this other side for about the same amount of time and do the same thing. You may notice a difference in the stability of either side, but that's normal. So this next one is my favorite of all the exercises for cycling and running, primarily because it focuses so much stress on your glutes and on your posterior chain, and they're Bulgarian split squats. And you can do these with any level of chair or a bench, whatever it might work. And sometimes the lower the better. This is a little high for me. But how it works is that you bring a foot up here on your toe, and then you're sinking down. So you're not coming forward, but you're sinking down on this leg so that this knee is over your shoelace. And the weight is on my heel, and all the tension is in my glute and my quad, but especially in my glute. And then I'm going to drive up. All right. The key to doing these with body weight is to do them slowly. So come down on a count of 5, and then push up fairly vigorously. As I'm falling over. Here we go. Down and up. Okay, so you can also do these as a split squat if you need to, if this is too high or if it's too low to come down, but the weight is still on my front foot heel, and I'm coming down as low as I can go, and I'm driving up with my heel. So I'm still coming down with a 5 count and then driving up as best I can. To continue the work that we're doing in building up the posterior chain, which is essentially from the back of your knees all the way up to your shoulder, and even including maybe your neck. But basically, we're trying to build our back strength, glutes in particular. So to do that, what we did with the first 2 exercises, we are going to do some bridging, some glute bridges. And bring your feet up towards your heels as close to your butt as you can. And then we're just bringing our hips up into the air. The goal here, though, is to bring them up as high as you can and just to squeeze the bejesus out of your glutes. It's kind of like you really have had bad gas and you're in church, you know, and you're just trying to hold everything in. I know that's totally inappropriate, but that's the idea. You'll all know what I mean. All right. If that is too easy for you, then you can do a variety of things. So basically, our goal is to hold that for, let's say, 10 to 15 seconds, rest, do it a couple more times until you start feeling your glutes really starting to get tired. So the other way of doing it is one leg, and you're just bringing it up, bringing your hips up the same way. I'm still trying to squeeze down my left glute, and then I'm going to bring it down, and then just keep going very slowly and trying to create as much tension in that glute. And again, notice, I don't know if you can see it, but my toe is still wiggling because all the weight is on my heel. All right, so glute bridges to build posterior chain strength. To continue this, we're going to do what's called hollows, and hollows are a way of building isometric strength in your, especially in your belly, in transverse abdominis, your rectus abdominis, your obliques, basically all these giant core muscles that support you when we run and when we ride. So a hollow is your small of your back, and so the whole goal, and we're just going to try it like this, is to push the small of my back into the floor as hard as I can. Now, when we do this again, watch what my hips do. They just roll forward. So it's like the back of my butt is just coming off the mat. Boom, okay? So arms are gonna be forward, like overhead, and then I'm gonna roll my hips and push down with the small of my back. So my spine is on the mat or on the floor, and I'm just pushing down, and the whole part of my belly is just like that. You gotta make that noise. All right, now, that's the entry point. To start making it more difficult, you can bring your legs up into the air and then push down. So that's creating more stress. And then the easier this gets, the more that you can extend your legs and then try to keep pushing it in. Obviously, you know, your feet are creating a lot of external pressure. I mean, they're dragging my feet down. So it's harder to push my small of my back. And it makes it harder to even think. All right, that's enough. All right, so again, holding those for 10 to 15 seconds, do them 3 times, okay? Then we're gonna flip over and we're gonna do the same kind of thing that we did with the bridge as if we were trying to fold ourselves in half. So we'll start with the locust pose and have our hands on at our sides, chin on the mat, and we'll bring our shoulders up off the mat and our chest off the mat, trying to squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then your feet and legs come off the mat. So basically, your belly button is on the mat. And just like the bridge, you are simply trying to squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, as if you were trying to bring your heels up to your back of your skull. All right? And then we'll do this 10 to 15 seconds. Bring it down. Then, if you wish to, you can make it a little more challenging by coming into a superhero. And in the superhero, it's the same idea of squeezing your glutes and folding yourself backwards, but now your arms are forward, and that creates more stress from your upper back. And now you have to do more work to hold your back upright. If you can breathe into your belly, you'll start rocking a little bit. And then down. What I want to work on now is simply doing some push-ups, and I'm going to show you some other variations that will make them more difficult or easier, depending on as you need. So push-ups you can do simply with your knees on the ground and coming down, bringing your nose. You can have your feet off the ground, but the key is to have your torso locked in so that your glutes are tight, your belly is tight. You're not doing sticking out your butt, but that you are keeping everything tight together, all right? Then you can also do a regular push-up. And then as a way of continuing, because doing push-ups is a heck of a way, it's like doing a plank, plank plus. Another way of doing a push-up though is to push it into a downward dog, which adds a lot of tension into your core and strengthens the stability. So you would push up, push into a downward dog, roll into a plank, push up into a downward dog. So if you can manage this, go ahead and try it. Otherwise, just keep your whatever way you can do your push-ups. All right. The next thing is going to be something that looks really hard, but when I have taught it to older people, like in their 70s, they figure it out really quickly. So it's something that we can all do. But we'll start in a bear position. And we'll start with a tabletop, but then in the bear position, we'll bring our knees out, all right? So then to get into this breakdancer pose, you'll twist your knees to one side, lift up that same hand. So if I'm twisting to the left, I'm lifting up my left hand, then my right foot is coming through, and I'm sitting down with my left foot. With my right. My left foot stays on the ground. My left hand is up in the air. Okay? And then I'm going to roll back and then go to the other side. I'm going to go to the right, and now my left foot is on the ground. Okay? So give this a try. It really is not nearly as hard as it appears. If you feel like you've got this, then when you can do this so that your foot stays up. And there's even then variations of coming down and doing more stuff there, but we're not going to worry about that now. So this one is something that you do really slowly. And when you do it really slowly, you are building a lot of core stability, and that's the goal of this. Is building the stability. All right, so the last one is going to be a side plank. Most of you have seen that, and there are a variety of ways of doing it. Let's start here. So side planks, you can have your bottom knee down, elbows underneath your shoulder, and you can start here. You can have your front foot in front of your back foot while you lift your knee up off the ground. You can stack your foot. If you're really good, you can bring this top foot up off the ground, which I really can't do for very long. And another way of doing this that's crazy is bringing a foot up on top of a bench or something and holding yourself up like this. Now, you won't be able to do this for very long because it'll get the inner thigh and you'll be dying. All right, so regardless of how you do this, hold it up. Keep your hips up, keep your hips stacked and your shoulders stacked, and hold this if you can for 30 seconds, and then come to the other side. All right, and then hold it here. Watch out for my head. All right, so that is a body weight exercise program that you can do during the season. For running and cycling, doing it basically on your hard days. If you're doing intervals Tuesdays and Thursdays, you do it those days after your workout. Thanks for watching.